to a very special reading vlog. I am so excited. I cannot even express into words my level of excitement. It is August 4th, which means it is Midnight Sun release day, and I am so excited. I have been rereading the Twilight series. I have been rewatching the movies. I even rewatched Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse last night, the extended editions, which I've actually never seen because I didn't know they existed. Absolutely loved them. They should just always play the extended editions. I have been watching Breaking Dawn Part 1 this morning, and I will probably have time to finish Breaking Dawn Part 2 as well. I have my Twilight shirt on. I am so ready. I have checked my pre-order status so many times in the last like 24 hours. It says it'll be arriving at my house between 1 and 4. I kind of regret pre-ordering online. I wish I could have just like gotten up this morning bright and early and went to the store and bought it. But when I pre-ordered, I didn't really know what the situation was going to be with bookstores, like if they were going to be open because of COVID or if it was still going to be all online sales. So that's why I pre-ordered it. And so I'm just gonna go keep watching Breaking Dawn Part 1, and I will hopefully be updating you when I get the book in the mail. It came in the mail. I went and got a coffee earlier, and I have been watching Breaking Dawn Part 1 or Part 2 in the back, and I might finish that before I start this, but I'm gonna do the unboxing because I literally cannot wait another second. So this is it. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love it. Okay, I think I'm gonna go finish Breaking Dawn Part 2 though, because I don't want to leave the movie done in the middle. Hello, a chapter 1 update. I know the lighting is terrible over here, but this is just for now. I just thought I would update after finishing the first chapter. I already love it. Edward spent like the whole chapter thinking of all the different ways he could kill Bella, and it was great fun. And I think now is the part where he's going to jet off to Alaska because he's so dramatic. I am very excited to keep reading, and just so you know, this reading vlog will probably have quite a bit of spoilers for this book. I know everyone's read Twilight pretty much, so that plot will remain the same, but for the stuff that happens unique to Edward, I'll probably be talking about that a lot as well. So if you don't want any spoilers, just go ahead and read the book first and then watch this. So I am gonna go keep reading. Hello, a Midnight Sun update. It is like 1 in the morning, so I'm going to bed, but I thought I would update where I am. I am almost 200 pages in. We are at the part Port Angeles, so Edward just found Bella when she was being cornered by the murderer guy. Found out he was not just planning to like sexually assault her, he was like straight up planning to murder her, I'm pretty sure, so that's terrifying. Edward has brought her to dinner and they are discussing theories. She's figured out that he can hear thoughts. I'm having a great time. Some overall thoughts so far. I love Edward. I love him so much. It is so interesting to see things from his point of view and to understand his thought process. He is an overthinker if I have ever seen one. He's definitely a very anxious person, and Stephanie Meyer has talked about that quite a lot. And it's been so interesting to see, one, all of what he's thinking about and how he is assessing this situation, but also because we're from Edward's point of view, we're not only getting his thoughts, but everyone else's except for Bella's. And it's so interesting to see Carlisle and to see Alice and all the Cullens, but also see like the kids at school. And one that's really interesting is seeing Charlie's thoughts, because Edward notices that for him, he can't exactly read Charlie's thoughts in like fully formed sentences. Like he can read a lot of other people's thoughts, everyone else's thoughts. He just can sort of sense Charlie's feelings, like general feelings, and like maybe some like formed words, but he can't see Charlie's thoughts clearly, which I think is so interesting because it makes me think Charlie is a shield just like Bella is. And obviously it's not like we're ever gonna see Charlie turn into a vampire and be able to work with that power, but I really think Charlie is at least some sort of shield, and that's where Bella gets it, which is just such a cool detail. I am loving seeing so much more of the Cullen family because yeah, we get them later in the series in the original quartet, but to see their interactions in this first book is so interesting. One, Rosalie was so mad that they didn't want to just go kill Bella after he saved her from the car accident. And the other one I didn't know, it's not really addressed from Bella's point of view. Jasper was like, she's a threat to our secret, we need to eliminate her. And Edward was like, no, we're not gonna kill her. And Carlisle was also like, no, we can't just murder her, Jasper, that's not how this works. And it's just so interesting seeing this different dynamic of the family. I really love all of Alice and Edward's interactions because the way they communicate is so interesting because Edward can read her mind, she can see the future, he's responding to her out loud and she always responds in her mind. It's just so interesting. And there was this part when they were discussing whether or not to murder Bella. Emmett was like, you guys are so annoying, just talk out loud. And it was just hilarious. And I love Emmett. Emmett's mind is so much fun to be in, by the way. He was having this big fight with a bear and Edward's like, you don't have to play with your food like that, you do not have to fight them. He's like, but that's where all the fun's at. And I love Emmett too. Esme is finally getting some attention. She never gets any attention and I love her, she deserves it. One other part from that scene where they were discussing whether or not to kill Bella because she could guess the secret, Edward sees the two visions in Alice's mind. She sees this ending two ways. One, Bella dead. Two, Bella a vampire. And he gets so upset. He's like, I can't deal with either of those options. I don't want to kill her because she's innocent and I don't want to be a monster, but I can't, damn her to this life. And it's just so interesting that he knows those options from so early on, and it really clearly explains a lot of his behavior in this book and the whole series. Really, he does not want either of these options for her, so he tries to find the middle ground and let her be human and let him be in her life at the same time. Peter and Charlotte just came to visit. That was fun. Just having a great time. I can't believe I'm really reading Midnight Sun for real. And then I also took some bookstagram pictures, which involved making fake blood, which was a lot of fun. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @theworld.in.words. I will be reading all day tomorrow. I have no plans. Also, I listened to the Midnight Sun playlist that Stephanie Meyer made on Spotify. Absolutely loved it. There were some really great songs on there. She had this score from Edward Scissorhands that is one of my favorite songs. She also had Turning Page from Breaking Dawn, which was so good. I have figured out the pomegranate thing, and I actually saw this theory before this book came out, and I wish I could remember the girl's name on TikTok, but it's some girl who just posts a bunch of Twilight content on TikTok. She theorized, because everyone hated this cover when it came out. I didn't. I love it. It's so aesthetically pleasing to me. I don't know what to say about that. And Edward just referenced it in this last chapter. He says, suddenly as she ate, a strange comparison entered my head. For just a second I saw Persephone, pomegranate in hand, dooming herself to the underworld. Is that who I was? Hades himself, coveting springtime, stealing it, condemning it to an endless night. I tried unsuccessfully to shake the impression. It has something to do with Persephone and Hades, and so I really, really like that analogy, because it really shows what Edward thinks of himself in this early part of the story. He really thinks he's the villain. He thinks he's the bad guy. And I mean, I feel like by the end he has sort of changed his tune with that. It takes him till like Breaking Dawn Part 2. It's a really interesting analogy to look at in this story. But I will update you more tomorrow. I have been rambling for like 12 years on this update, so Hello, it is the next day. I am just about to sit down and continue reading Midnight Sun. It is already noon. I had some errands to run this morning and just things to get done, and I also napped on the couch while watching Home Alone. But I got a coffee and I am pretty much free for the rest of the day, and I am very excited to keep reading. Bella's going to soon figure out what Edward is, and I feel like that's going to be really interesting to read from Edward's point of view, because I feel like it was a big betrayal to his family, but also he was at this point where he didn't know what else to do. So I am going to go get started on reading, and I will update you in a little bit. Hello, an update. I'm not actually that much farther. I'm on page 254 and it's been 2 hours. I don't know what I've been doing for 2 hours, but I just wanted to share this part that I think is absolutely adorable. And I actually heard about this part on the Remember Twilight podcast. They had read this part in Midnight Sun from the original snippet that she put on the Stephenie Meyer website. But Edward wants to repay Angela because in being able to read everyone's thoughts, he's noticed that Angela is just really, really kind, and she's always been very nice and very generous to Bella. And unlike Jessica, who thinks with a lot of jealousy and just sort of bad vibes toward Bella, even though she's kind of her friend, Angela doesn't think like that. She genuinely just wants to be nice to Bella and just wants to be nice to everyone, and she thinks in a very unselfish way. And so Edward wants to repay that debt, he says, for being nice to Bella. And so he is searching her mind for something that she wants that he could get her, but there's nothing material that she wants. But he figures out that she likes Ben, which in the movie, I love the fact that they kind of just make Ben and Eric the same character. They're it's the same thing, which honestly it is the same thing. So Edward comes up with this idea that he's going to talk to Emmett. I love that he pulls Emmett in on it too. Edward sets it up so Ben will hear Edward and Emmett talking about Angela, making him think that Edward wants to go out with Angela. And so Ben will finally step up and be like, oh, she can't go out with Edward Cullen. I like her. And I just think that was such an adorable thing for him to do, and I loved it. Another thing, which has been happening throughout the book, but I just love the fact that Edward has to keep reminding himself that he cannot murder Mike. That he flirts with Bella so much. He's like, I can't murder him. I can't run to the gym right now and break his head. It's just hilarious to me. But I'm going to keep reading. I just wanted to share that cute little thing because I love Edward so much. I am on chapter 16, page 329, so I've read a little bit more. Loving it still, obviously. Is anyone surprised? But I just have to talk about, one, I love how Edward and Alice interact with each other. I just love their love, I guess. They're truly best friends and brother and sister, and I also love him with Emmett too. But he, just the way they communicate, because he can read her mind, she sees the future, he's always responding to the different futures, and then he'll make a decision and see how that changes the visions in her mind. And it's so interesting to see the different visions in her mind. I just really, really love their dynamic. And I really like this part. Alice is looking at the different possible futures for Bella, and she's trying to give him percentages, oh, we've got 80% human and then 20% death, or whatever it is. I'm just gonna go there for now. And then I just read a chapter that was actually a flashback to 1919, so it was just about a year after Edward is turned, and it's just him and Carlisle at this point, and I loved it. I could read so much flashback of Edward, and I know it's not as fun without Bella, but seeing him struggle with being a newborn is so interesting, and also discovering his gift. But this was a flashback. He was still trying to learn how to interact with humans in general and not kill them. And Carlisle was working with him and starting to test him a little bit more by bringing him out into public. And then they were on a hunt and they ran into the Irish Cullen, so Siobhan, I don't know how to say her name, and Maggie, and that was so cool. And I loved seeing them, and especially Edward being able to see into her mind, because those characters are not given a lot of attention in Breaking Dawn. They're there and they discuss their powers, but they're not a big part. There's just too many characters in Breaking Dawn for everyone to get attention. And so it was really interesting to see a little bit more of a snippet of them. I've read about them in the illustrated guide, and so I have a little bit more understanding of their background, like the fact that Maggie was made because of the powers she showed as a human, and they wanted to have a powerful person in their coven. I liked seeing how Edward thought about that and how Carlisle thought about that, because Edward doesn't think of himself as like a power to have in a coven. Because I really think even this early on, he thinks of him and Carlisle as a family. So I am just loving this read, and I'm loving seeing the flashbacks. I thought that was such a cool aspect, and I am very excited. We are getting to the meadow scene, which I'm very excited to read, because I think Stephenie Meyer has been saying about how Midnight Sun was her chance to really fill in that gap of everything that happened at the meadow, and I can't wait to see all the details that were left out of Twilight. And I'm just having so much fun. I love this book. I'm loving this. I love Twilight in this world, so I am going to go dive back in. Hello, an update. It is 1:30 in the morning, which is past my bedtime, but I've made some progress. I am about 450 pages in. I am on chapter 20. So much has happened. So first off, we had a flashback to when Rosalie saves Emmett from the bear and asks Carlisle to turn him. While this is a story I already knew, I know that's how Emmett joined the family. To actually see it was just so incredible to read, and that understanding that Rosalie and Edward had in those days while they were waiting for Emmett to turn was just so good, and I just love them so much. After those days, we returned home brother and sister, and it just makes my heart happy. And to see Rosalie so fiercely care for Emmett in the first moments that she knows him just was so good too. And Carlisle so quickly, after he understood what Rosalie wanted, he was like, yes, I will do that. Because he felt like he owed something to Rosalie because she wasn't really happy at that point. That was just an incredible flashback to see. I really, really loved it. We got all the meadow scene as well, which was so much fun to read from Edward's perspective. And I think just in general, this book, getting the emotions of Edward is really opening my eyes even more to this series. Like, I felt like I had a pretty good understanding of Edward in the first place, but being able to see it in words has been really incredible. In Twilight, you don't get to see a lot of what he feels just because he is naturally very guarded, and for good reason. He's afraid of killing Bella, but to see the source of his anger, because Bella is perceptive. She sees when he's upset or frustrated, and most of the time it's actually, I would say it's almost never with her, other than when she's, putting herself in danger, or like by putting herself in danger by being with him. But even then, he's still more mad at himself. He's more mad at the monster in himself, and it's just so interesting to read that from that perspective. There's also another conversation between Edward and Rosalie in the night before Edward wants to bring Bella to the house. He goes and talks to Rosalie, and he's like, can you just be nice to her? Like, she's in my life now, and that's not going to change. Even if she's only in my life for the next few years, she's here, and I want you to like her, or at least tolerate her. And I liked being able to see Rosalie's perspective early on in the series rather than waiting till like Eclipse or Breaking Dawn, because she says basically what she means later is that it's so painful for her to watch Bella throw away her own life, her human life, all the possibilities. And while it's the right decision for Bella, it's what Bella wants in the end, it's still so difficult for Rosalie to see it, because if Rosalie was in Bella's shoes, that is not what she would choose for herself. So it's just so interesting to see Rosalie's perspective through Edward's conversation and through Edward's mind, and I really, really liked that. So I am on the chapter where they are going to hear Carlisle's backstory a bit more, and I will update you in the morning when I am reading more. Hello, it is the next day. I just wanted to do a quick update. I am now about 150 pages from the end and I am so excited. It was just the baseball scene and they are now realizing that James, Laurent, and Victoria are approaching, and I'm so excited to see where this goes because in Twilight, Edward and Bella get separated towards the end as he hunts and she goes off with Alice and Jasper. So I'm so excited to see Edward's point of view and how this hunt goes for him, especially trying to get Rosalie to help because she's still so hesitant to be a part of this. So I am so excited to keep going. I will definitely be rereading it pretty soon because it's just so magical, and I just am so happy to get to dive back into this world that Stephenie Meyer created. Hello, a last update because I finished Midnight Sun and I don't know if I have ever been so blown away by a book. Like, it has been a long time since I have felt like this about a book. Being able to see Edward's mind and really understand his world that much better, it just means so much to me. I have loved the Twilight series for so long. Edward has always been one of my favorite characters, and I feel like in the general public he's a character who gets a lot of hate, and it's so unwarranted for the most part. I just loved seeing into his mind, seeing how his emotions work, and seeing the torment but also the joy. It was just so good. I think I last updated around the baseball field scene. A lot has happened since then. The beginning of the hunt was definitely very interesting because I got to see where Edward was during the hunt because Bella was obviously heading south, and it was just so interesting to see the way Edward worked on a hunt. It was interesting because it was him, Carlisle, and Emmett, and he would call Alice and be like, which direction, which one of us is going to find him, and then they would be able to use her vision power to get that much closer, but it was, you know, a cat and mouse chase. They just weren't getting there. And then when they went to Phoenix, it was so intense in a way. Like, obviously from Bella's point of view, all the stuff that happens in Phoenix is very intense. She is severely injured, but to see it from Edward's side, it's like I had never seen it before. I was seeing it in a completely new light. He gets to the airport and he's going through to meet what he thinks will be Alice and Jasper and Bella on the other side, and he keys in on Alice's thoughts and he just hears the pure terror in her mind and he just breaks. And it was so intense and so incredible to read, and I barely even have words for it. And then after that, which was it was a very intense scene but also kind of fun, there was like a whole car chase. They had to get a car that was fast enough to get to the ballet studio, so they literally like just picked up a car out of the Sky Harbor airport, stole it, and they were going like 150 on the 101, which is the speed limit's like 75. So that was fun. They had police cars chasing them, and there was going to be a police block. Like, Alice had seen that there was going to be like a police block, so they couldn't get past them, and so they switched cars. They stole someone else's car on the freeway. Like, Carlisle literally, I don't know what he injected her with, but he injected the driver with something and just like laid her on the ground, and they took her even faster car. And I was like, wow, this is fun. A car chase? Like, it was a really interesting detail that we miss out because Bella's, you know, busy getting beaten to death. I absolutely loved seeing the sequence in the ballet studio from Edward's point of view, because at that point in Twilight, Bella's in so much pain. She's getting glimpses of this scene, but she's not really there. She's in so much pain because of the venom. And so to get to see it that much more clearly was so interesting. So like Emmett and Jasper take care of James, and Carlisle and Alice are working with Bella, trying to get her okay, and Alice is pushing herself to be okay with the blood, which is just such an interesting detail to me. And among all this, Bella is like, I have to tell about Alice, and she's, is trying to say, like, James knew about Alice, he knew her, which is a whole other thing. Like, I know that was in Twilight already, but like to hear that again and have Edward think about it in such a different way and be able to see into Alice's mind, which she was way too busy to be thinking about it right now. She was like, store that away for later, I'll figure it out. And the fact that James was like so keyed in on Alice way back in the day also is just such an interesting detail that Stephenie Meyer got to put in the book. Reading about Edward having to save Bella by taking the venom out of her blood was so intense to read from his point of view. I absolutely loved it. It was scary. I mean, I know the outcome obviously, but it was just so interesting. The last few chapters after they're out of the ballet studio for Edward are just so interesting because he's so happy that he saved her, but he also feels so guilty. And the feelings he has at the end, he's trying to take everything day by day, but it so clearly sets it up for New Moon on his side. Like, Bella had been like, she was solid in what she thinks is going to happen, but it so clearly sets Edward up for New Moon. He's just waiting for that something to click and forcing him to leave, and that was, Jasper at her birthday. I loved the conversations Edward had with Renee and with Charlie, and just always being there while she was healing at the hospital. I thought that was so interesting. Something that's never mentioned in the Twilight series originally is Alice brings Edward the tape that James makes, and he watches it. A form of self-punishment. He forces himself to see Bella get hurt like this. And I think it also, he wanted to understand more about what James said about Alice, so I'm guessing Alice watched it too, just for that, but I don't know. But the fact that Edward forced himself to watch that, I would have, I didn't even know they grabbed the tape before they left. I mean, I guess that makes sense because it's evidence. The other thing with evidence, I didn't really think too much about the fact that they had to set up evidence of the staircase. I knew that that's something Edward said, he said Alice took care of it, but Edward watched all of this sequence of events in Alice's mind that she was setting up her plan to plant all the evidence. It was so interesting seeing all these small little details she had to set up to make the accident seem real. It was incredible. And then of course we end with the prom scene, which is one of my absolute favorites. It was just so sweet. What was so different with this one is in Twilight, that last chapter I feel like is so clearly filled with hope because Bella has decided what her future is going to be, and she knows that she's going to get it. She has chosen Edward, and she is confident in that decision, and she's ready to start the rest of her life. But Edward is, as much as he loves Bella, he still looks at himself as a monster, and he doesn't want Bella to have a monster. He talks about thinking how one day she'll be married, she'll have kids. There's even a moment where he wonders if that home, her future home, will be in La Push, possibly with Jacob, which is just too much for me to think about. Edward is not hopeful, so the epilogue for him is just filled with such sadness, and he wants to care for and love Bella for the rest of his eternity, but he doesn't want to steal her human life. And so it had just such a different tone at the end, but it was so incredibly written, and I loved it. I already want to reread it. Genuinely think I might reread it this month, but I had an incredible time. If it wasn't obvious, this is a 5 out of 5 stars. Is anyone surprised? No. I loved it. I loved the pomegranate analogy with Persephone and Hades that was weaved throughout the story. I thought that was an incredible analogy, and I love the cover. Stephanie Meyer tends to put like literature analogies in a lot of the books, like New Moon is Romeo and Juliet. So I really liked what she chose for this one. I'm really, really thankful for Stephanie Meyer and this series because it means so much to me, and I'm just really happy. And at the end, this is how I'll end the video, she has in the acknowledgements, she says, "And finally, the readers who were so patiently eager for this book, I would have never finished without your support. You belong on this page. Please write your name on the line below and give yourself a high five." So I wrote my name. I'll give myself a high five. Thank you, Stephanie. This means a lot. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you get to read Midnight Sun soon, and I hope you love it as much as I do. So I will see you guys next time. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.